NewsNation political contributor Mick Mulvaney joins us. Mick, what was your plus minus on tonight?
Yeah, you know, Chris, before the show, they asked me to sort of watch and look for pull quotes, stuff that sort of jumped out at me as we were going along. And you got about 8 or 10, 12 questions into it, and I realized there weren't any. There weren't any pre-canned sort of one-lined zingers. It was a conversation. It was actually kind of refreshing. I lost count after about 16 or 18 questions between you and X and the audience and so forth. Somebody'd ask a question, and he'd give an answer to that question. You might not like the answer, and I get that. Half the country probably didn't. But one of the things that people hate about politicians is when you ask them X, and they answer A, B, C. You know, what are you going to do about the economy? I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. That grates on people. Would you liked him or didn't like him? You can't walk out of there tonight and say that J.D. Vance avoided any of the questions. So I thought it was normal, and that's a pleasant change in American politics these days.
And how do you think that plays in terms of what this race is about at this point of, less than 2 weeks out?
Not at all. Nobody votes for vice president. You had an interview earlier in the show, I think, with Chris Hahn, who hit the nail on the head. Nobody votes for vice president. I think even a couple of your folks there who were there tonight during the show said, it doesn't really change their opinion. They might not even vote. That's about typical. A vice president can cost you votes, but neither of these vice presidential candidates are going to cost Trump or Harris any votes. What this really was tonight was this is another step towards 2028. Because keep in mind, lose or win, there's another Republican running for president 4 years from now. And J.D. Vance has proven himself now with the debate with Tim Walz, and even more so tonight with you, that he is up to the task, that he is at the top of the field for 2028. And I'm sure that Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis and everybody else is sitting back tonight going, I have to up my game because this guy's pretty good.
Does he have to stay this guy and not go back to they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, cat ladies with no kids?
Yeah, probably. I mean, look, the one thing that Donald Trump doesn't want you to do is ever admit that you were wrong, right? So I think that was really hard for him. That jumped out at me as being a former Trump chief of staff when he said, maybe I could have done better. That was actually on the question regarding, it was another question you asked him. I can't remember what it was.
The migrants about Springfield.
When he pivoted. Yeah, and then he pivoted to East Palestine, which is a great answer, which is, look, if you're a member of Congress or the Senate and your constituents call you, are you going to say you must be an idiot, or are you actually going to give them the benefit of the doubt? I thought that was a really good part of the answer. So he did a nice job pivoting there. He was a likable guy. Look, even the lady you just had on in the last segment who said she's probably not going to vote for Trump or for Harris said she liked him. That's what these things are about. I've done 40 or 50 of these. And this was one of the best I've ever seen. He's just a likable guy, regardless of how you feel about the politics.
What was your read on Trump's, when he said, what do you think about how brilliant Kamala is, and then said to him, don't say it, we're doing so well. I thought that was such an interesting vibe from Trump.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me. Trump was absolutely watching it. I don't know where he was. Actually, I think he's in Nevada tonight. He was going from Arizona to Nevada. He had 2 events tonight, and I don't know where he was, but he might have even been waiting to either walk on the stage or is walking off the stage to watch this. One of the reasons they picked J.D. Vance, in fact, probably one of the primary reason they picked J.D. Vance is they always thought he was good on TV. Now, granted, they thought they were going to win easily because Biden was still the opponent at that time. So, you wonder if they'd make the same decision again. I think they would. This is what they hired. They wanted a guy who's quick on his feet, who's good to talk to, and Trump calling in to say that was really Trump's way of saying, you know what, I'm watching you, young man. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it. Don't distract from what's going on at the top of the ticket. Keep it up. I think we're going to win.
Mick Mulvaney, appreciate you. Thank you very much for weighing in on an important night for us here at NewsNation. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.